Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush takes place this weekend in the co-main event of UFC 262, Oliveira versus Chandler, and we have another lightweight bout on the card. Inside the top 10, Ferguson versus Dariush. I need to get something off my chest before I even begin my prediction of who I believe is going to win. I want nothing more than for Tony Ferguson to win this fight against Beneil Dariush. I like Beneil Dariush as a person. He seems like a really nice guy, and he always has entertaining fights. I don't care, to be honest with you. Tony Ferguson, I beg of you, somehow win this fight. If you have to eat an illegal knee and go out the way Aljo did, just don't lose again, because they're cutting people a lot recently. Tyron Woodley got cut, and I'm sure if Tony Ferguson lost again, they would consider cutting him from the UFC. He's an older guy. There's not really too much to invest in right now in his career. I doubt they're really going to be paying him $500,000 paydays just to go on and fight unranked opponents or barely top 15 opponents. I really want Tony Ferguson to win against Beneil Dariush so badly, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Beneil Dariush is going to beat Tony Ferguson, and I think he's going to beat him relatively easily. And, it's just such a sad time, man. MMA is the most heartbreaking sport there is. A guy retires, his team doesn't place top 5 in the league that one season, but maybe they were number 3 last season. Watching someone lose, get beaten up, and their career's coming to an end, is such a tough feeling, man. And I think Beneil Dariush is going to beat him. Not the same level that Charles Oliveira did. Maybe not the same level that Justin Gaethje did either. But I think he's going to win this fight against Tony Ferguson via 29-28 unanimous decision. I think if this was a 5-round fight, I would 100% pick Tony Ferguson. I think he can survive the first 2 rounds against Beneil Dariush and start to make a comeback in those later rounds. If this was a 5-rounder, I would pick Tony Ferguson to win 3 rounds to 2, maybe even finish Beneil Dariush in the 4th or 5th round. This is not a 5-rounder. I think that is the worst management I've ever seen of a career ever. Tony Ferguson's one advantage over his opponents that has been his advantage for the vast majority of his career is the pace that he can put on and the fact that he can keep going in those later rounds, and some fighters can't do that. I don't know why his management keeps signing him up to 3-round fights. There's so many cards coming up in June. Rosenstruck versus Sakai is a main event of a fight night. Why would they not try and get Tony Ferguson on the main event in June rather than a 3-rounder? I think Beneil Dariush is going to be able to control him in the grappling for the first 2 rounds, land good shots on the feet as well, maybe even catch Ferguson with a big bomb that rocks him or something like that. I don't believe that Beneil Dariush is going to get a finish. I think if there's a finish to be had here, it might be Tony Ferguson in the 3rd round, because Beneil Dariush, although sets a good pace and can keep that good pace in a fight, we saw that against Diego Ferreira, that 3rd round can get a little bit tricky for Beneil Dariush, and maybe Tony Ferguson makes the comeback of all ages in that 3rd round, turns back the clock, making me a very happy man to see Ferguson get his hand raised. But in a 3-rounder, I just don't believe there's enough time for him, and I think Dariush is going to be able to secure half guard on the ground. He was in there with Diego Ferreira, and Diego Ferreira has a nasty jiu-jitsu game for wrestlers. We saw that against Gregor Gillespie recently before Ferreira started to gas out in round 2. Of course, he missed weight, took that bout on short notice with Gregor Gillespie as well. Either way, Ferreira's got real nasty jiu-jitsu. Dariush has got real nasty jiu-jitsu. I really like Dariush's jiu-jitsu. People forget this, but he submitted Drew Dober faster than Islam Makhachev did. Dariush has got really underrated grappling in that division. I think he's got enough to stay out of danger against Tony Ferguson. I think he's got enough cardio to not gas out like Kevin Lee did when he had staph infection against Tony Ferguson. And when you really look back at Tony Ferguson's wins right now in this division, they're not aging too well, to be honest with you. The last win he had was in June of 2019. That's nearly 2 years ago. Cerrone's probably going to be gone from the UFC. Pettis is gone from the UFC and just lost to Clay Collard. You know, before that, Kevin Lee Haven't seen him really, but got beaten by Charles Oliveira, which is not a bad loss. Don't get me wrong, not a bad loss. Of course, he went on to beat Gregory Gillespie after that loss as well. But Kevin Lee is not really a great win to have right now in the division either, especially when you were losing to him quite badly before eventually getting a submission towards the midway point of the fight in round 3 when Kevin Lee had very, very blatant staph infection. If Kevin Lee doesn't have staph infection, does he just keep beating up Ferguson on the ground? Is that what we witness happening? Either way, he has a good win against Rafael Dos Anjos. Before that, he was doing real good in his career. Edson Barboza as well. That's someone who's Beneil Dariush has lost to. But when you look at the Edson Barboza fight with Beneil Dariush, Ferguson had to eat so much punishment to eventually get to Edson Barboza and break him down and sink in that Dash choke. Beneil Dariush, although losing to Edson Barboza by flying knee, was scooting around, dismantling Edson Barboza on the feet. Not dismantling him that much, don't get me wrong. He wasn't beating the hell out of him like Gaethje Ferguson round 5. But he was doing really, really well against Edson Barboza in the first round of their fight. And let me see the points here. 28-16 in round 1, 23-14 in round 2 for Beneil Dariush. He was scooting around, kicking the shit out of Beneil Dariush, landing good punches to the head as well. Eventually, Dariush timed that flying, Edson Barboza timed that flying knee. But Dariush has got 6 stand-up. He's got a wicked chin. I know he got KO'd by Alexander Hernandez, but, like, he's still got a wicked chin. I don't think Ferguson's going to be able to go out there and KO him in any way early. I don't see any early version of a finish for Tony Ferguson. He has to get it done later on. And I just don't think he has enough time to get it done later on. I think in the first 2 rounds of this bout, Beneil Dariush is just a better fighter than Tony Ferguson. His one advantage is cardio. Why do they keep signing him up for 3-rounders, man? Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards can negotiate themselves a 5-round co-main event for this very same card, but when Ferguson moves up to the co-main event, it's 3 rounds. It feels like the UFC is actively, unless it's just his management backstabbing him and getting rid of him for some reason, which I don't imagine they would do, because he is their person who pays them. I think the UFC is just only allowing 3-round bouts for Ferguson in the hopes that he will lose these bouts coming up. I think they've got something against him, and I think they have done for a very long time. Always seems to get not very nice matchups for himself. I know he's very good, but still, like, why would you not start signing these fights? He's a very old man at this point in his career. I think he is 37 years of age, maybe 36. I'm going to say 37. He is 37 years of age. 32-year-old Beneil Dariush. Both guys, reasonable amount of experience. I just like Beneil, man. I don't think Ferguson's going to do too much to him in those early rounds, and I don't think he has enough time in the third. Big fight for the lightweight division, though. I just think Dariush has got much better stand-up than him. And I also don't like the fact that Tony Ferguson has gone to Freddie Roach and has been talking about how he's really honing in his boxing. I don't want to see Ferguson throwing good 1-2s, man. I want Ferguson throwing weird shots from weird angles. I want Ferguson getting rocked in the first round and tumbling his way out of it and bouncing back in the second. I want him in these situations. I don't want Ferguson to come out there and think he's going to pop a jab 1-2 on Beneil Dariush. I don't like the fact that he's starting to talk about how he's going to go back to really defining his skill set. I like his unorthodoxy. His unorthodoxy was what made him so good. What happened to his front kicks? He has them, but they're nowhere near as oftenly used as they were, as frequently used as they were earlier in his career. He just doesn't seem to have the same output anymore in fights. Like, he's had fights where he's been on the feet with guys like Justin Gaethje, and maybe Gaethje was landing big enough shots to just make Ferguson not really want to commit with all the volume that he usually does. But I've seen Ferguson eat wheel kicks off people, and just still power through. I don't think he has the testosterone necessary in his body to just grit and power through the same shots that he once was able to. And I think that's going to be his downfall in this fight with Beneil Dariush. I think Dariush is going to scoot around the outside, catch him on the chin a couple of times early, put him down towards the end of the first round, keep him in half guard, land total strikes on Tony Ferguson, go into the second round, scoot around on the feet a little bit, land some good kicks, land some good shots on the feet to the face of Tony Ferguson, get his respect early, then go for a takedown towards the second half of the second round, sit in half guard, land some good total strikes. Third round comes around, both guys scrapping on the feet. Maybe Dariush goes for a takedown, this time doesn't get it. I don't think he's got enough time. 5-rounder, I'd consider it. 3-rounder, It's 15 minutes. Dariush has got 15 minutes. Say, Pettis broke his hand. I don't know, man. There's just so many fights that have been iffy. The Donald Cerrone fight, like, Cerrone was, like, winning the first round, maybe. Close fight. You know what I mean? Like, a real competitive bout back and forth. Don't get me wrong, it looked like Ferguson would have gone on to win anyway in that third round, but, like, it's just not a good look, man. Fuck! Tony. I hope he wins. I have never predicted a single Tony Ferguson fight correct in my entire life. I pray that Tony Ferguson wins. I'm actually maybe subconsciously, without myself even realizing it, picking against him so I won't feel bad if he does lose. Maybe somewhere in my subconscious that's what's happening. Maybe that's why I'm picking Beneil Dariush. I just want to somehow curse it so that Tony Ferguson does end up winning and I'm incorrect. But when you look at the fights, I just can't predict this guy's fights, man. I didn't predict a fight with him and Rafael dos Anjos. I picked Kevin Lee to beat him. He lost. I picked Pettis to beat him. Pettis lost. I picked Cerrone to beat him. Cerrone lost. I mean, what was I doing? And I picked him to beat Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. And what do you know? Down the drain. I think he's going to lose again. The damage that he took against Gaethje was just an absolutely shocking amount of damage. I actually think he did quite well in that fight with Gaethje, and people don't talk about it. I thought the first round is up for grabs, and the second round was his with that knockdown at the end, or whatever it was, not really official, but like, I thought he did reasonably okay against Justin Gaethje, but the damage he took in those later rounds. And then the Oliveira fight, just watching him not really have the big grit that he needed to really shuck off some of those takedowns and like bust his way out of there. Like, he just didn't seem as strong as he was before. He didn't seem to have the Granby rolls that he had before, the front roly-polies that he had before, the crazy shots on the feet, the slamming front kick into the body. Everything just seems less testosterone based. I think Ferguson's going soy. I never thought I'd say that, but age hits everyone, and I'm going with Beneil Dariush. Winner of this one is in a really good position in the lightweight division, and if Ferguson does win this, Islam Makhachev, that's the fight I want to see made next. If Ferguson somehow pulls this off against Beneil Dariush, and I'm sure there's some people out there that think that he can. If he does pull this one off against Beneil Dariush, I'd love to see him versus Islam Makhachev next. What's he going to be if he wins? He'll probably be ranked, if Chandler loses to Oliveira, he'll move up. Otherwise, he'll stay exactly where he is at number 5. So number 5, does Makhachev earn that? Maybe. Ferguson's the type of guy to accept it anyway. I think they probably will make the Islam Makhachev versus Tony Ferguson bout just for the storyline. We never got Ferguson-Habib. Now we're going to try and get Ferguson versus the second version of Habib on the come up, the younger Habib. And then maybe if Ferguson wins that one, we can try and spin some kind of narrative if he wins again down the line. So that the fact that, hey, I just beat Islam Makhachev 2 fights ago. Now I've got the championship belt at fucking 40 years of age. Don't know if this is a real fantasy world I'm living in here, but somehow maybe we could lure Habib back and finally get that fight for 30-0. Either way, if Beneil Dariush wins, I reckon he's not going to be looking for the Islam Makhachev bout. I reckon if Beneil Dariush gets this one, he's going to be looking at maybe like the winner of Gaethje, like Rafael dos Anjos. If they make that fight, maybe Beneil Dariush is going to be looking at the loser of Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. There's a lot of fights to make right now in the lightweight division. A bunch of guys open for matchups. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. I'm going to go 29-28. Beneil Dariush secures the first 2 rounds. First 2 rounds, landing good shots on the feet, cracking Tony Ferguson now and again with big punches, going with body kicks and leg kicks against Tony Ferguson as well, because he knows that Tony's not going to shoot on him, which I think more fighters should start to do against Tony Ferguson, which is what Gaethje did to the legs of Ferguson early, which was a little bit unnoticed because of all the big bombs he was landing as well. But I think Beneil Dariush can secure the first 2 rounds and survive a sloppy third where maybe he loses the third. 29-28, Beneil Dariush, and I'm sad. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. Just a quick prayer. At one point in his career, can Ferguson achieve a standing ovation from a set of crowds? Or just a set of people in the crowd? That is the saddest thing. He is one of the most beloved fighters, but he has become the most beloved in a time where there was no crowds. And even against Donald Cerrone, they booed him out of the arena. I need a moment where the whole crowd of MMA hardcore fans erupt with joy and pleasure over a Tony Ferguson win. Because he has not had that adoration yet. And I think that would really help his mental. I'm choking up right now. Goodbye. See you later.